In today's show, we're going to be talking to Darshaun McAway. He is absolutely no stranger to the Writers' Corner live show. Darshaun has got a whopping 32 published titles. 11 of those titles are bestsellers. And today is going to talk us through how you can turn children's books into animation films, how you can fail forward because we all fail in life, but how can you turn that around into something positive and fail forward? And we're also going to be talking about one of his latest books in Anaya's Adventures. So stay with us. When we come back, we'll have more information on Darshaun McAway. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Writers' Corner live show. I'm your host, Bridgetti Banda from Cape Town in South Africa. Today's stream is made possible by StreamYard, Creative Edge, and BeLive Media. A special warm welcome to you, our audience. We are monitoring the comments. This is an audience-centric show, so please feel free to say hello and where you are joining us from. In today's show, we're going to be talking to Darshaun McAway. Also, if you are new to the show, if you've never watched us before, just type new in the comments and then we can give you a shout out. So our special guest today, Darshaun McAway, is a best-selling author and businessman. His businesses include a fragrance line, a children's publishing company called babyauthors.com. He has a clothing line and a very well-known podcast. With all his successes, Darshaun still says his proudest moment is becoming a father and being a husband. He rose to fame with his best-selling children's series, Anaya's Adventures, made available in the Walmart stores and other big retailers. But I'm not going to give away too much more about that. I actually want Darshaun to talk about it himself. So with that, let's give a warm welcome to Darshaun, shall we? Darshaun, welcome. You're a great friend of the show, so I'm delighted to have you back here again.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Oh my goodness, that was fantastic.
It's awesome to have you back with us. But there's many people who've not who may not have met you because people come and go. There's always new people watching the show. We go live on different platforms. And so I want to ask you if we can start off by, could you tell us, what your journey has been like so far as an author? And I really, really, really want you to tell us how it came about that Anaya's Adventures got into Walmart. I mean, that is huge. That's
Oh yeah.
a massive win.
Oh yeah, huge. So, there's two different timelines in my life. When I was 23, I had wrote my first book, Do You Mind If? Sold over 170,000 copies. And, from there, I ended up coming out with some more titles, which kind of gives me like that 32 number mark. But then in the year of 2015, I ended up getting married. And I told my wife, I say, hey, we got to figure out a way to take care of this little one here. We didn't really plan out the financial revenue on having a baby. So I say, hey, listen, I know some people.
Very few people do, right?
Right. So I told her, I say, listen, I know some people in Arkansas. There's a few people who owe me some favors. Maybe they can connect me with some people at the headquarters. Well, those people that I knew, they no longer work there. So we had made our way to Arkansas, got ourselves situated up in the Bentonville area where the Walmart headquarters is. And I wasn't hearing back from people for weeks. So I say, listen, I got to go up there. Right. And that's a big no-no, especially in today's time. But in 2015, this is way before COVID, didn't, that type of stuff that wasn't even in existence. So I go up there, I have all my materials with me, a business card, the first book, first children's book, Anaya's Trip to the Rainbow, right? And lo and behold, I see this gentleman coming out, and I'm like, okay, I can ask this guy what's going on. So I'm walking up the steps, and I purposely bump into him. I said, "Oh, excuse me, sir. Hey, my name is Darshaun McAway. I'm trying to figure out how do I get my children's books placed inside a Walmart." So he said, "Well, tell me more." I said, "Well, yeah, I have this small publishing company called babyauthors.com, and we're trying to come up with a 5-book series, and we want to find out how to get our books, inside your stores." He says, "Well, guess what? My name is James Cameron. I'm the vice president of Walmart. You just met the right person." So I go, "What?" He said, you
Oh
know,
my goodness. Like, what are the chances of that ever
right,
happening?
what are the chances, right? So he says, "Give me your business card. I'm going to connect you with the book buyer." The book buyer emails me like, 3 or 4 days later, says, "James Cameron told me you're the person that I need to know. When can we set up a meeting?" We set up a meeting like a week later. I brought my wife and my daughter, and the meeting went well, to say the least. But what I love about that day the most is when the meeting was over, James Cameron came back to give me a handshake to say congratulations, and I have that photograph of him knowing that I was going to land the deal with Walmart.
Wow. That, that to me is just humanity right there.
Right, right,
Of people being hands-on in their staff. I mean, it's such a great example of being actively involved in your business, because a lot of people lead from the top. They're not visible, they're not
right,
available
right,
to, to customers, to clients, and even oftentimes not to their staff.
right.
So I think a huge big shout out to Walmart for that one.
Yeah, yeah. And and little did I know at the time, they were looking for people like me who had a small business, who had a great product. It just so happened that they do not have enough of what they will label urban books or African American books placed inside their stores. So when I told them about the business plan of having a 5-book series, they were all for it. So it's going on 6 years now. I've been doing business with Walmart going on 6 years, roughly in August. August is when Anaya was born. Her birthday is August 8th. So, from there, we've been able to create so many different things: socks, shoes, bed sheets, umbrellas. So, Walmart doors opened up to us tremendously.
But Darshaun, I also want to say that you created that, as much as this guy was amazing and fantastic and the timing was just perfect, you created that opportunity. If
Yes.
you didn't go in there um, asking the questions, it would never have happened, because sometimes we don't ask. We expect things to just fall in our pathway without us taking the first step. But you took that first step, and it's been amazing for you.
Oh yeah, big yeah, and you're correct. You're correct, and that's a lot. A lot of people are nervous to do something like that. And what I try to tell people is, when you want to get inside these big retail stores, what are you offering, right? I have like this popular story that I like to tell. I like to call it Darshaun and the Beanstalk. Instead of stealing from the giant, which would be Walmart or these big box retailers in this instance, what can you provide to the giant? What's the incentive? Instead of trying to take so much from people, what can you give?
So have your ducks in the row. Like, don't go and approach somebody without having done your homework.
Right,
Know what your offer is, know what you want going in, because the person you're trying to sell to is going to know whether you don't know your stuff.
right.
People have a sixth sense when it comes to things like that. So know what you. I just want to say a warm welcome again to our audience, whether you're watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Amazon. A warm welcome to you. Now, I do just want to say we are talking to Darshaun McAway about his series and his learnings in life as an author and a successful business person. Also, just know that all these platforms, by default, they turn the sound off, because sometimes you're watching in a place where you can't hear or listen to sound. So if that is not you, if you can turn up the volume, please turn up the volume, unmute so you can hear us. And also please click on the follow button so that you can get notified when we are live again. Darshaun, getting back to you, your latest book is Ananias' Trip to Atlantis. So
Yes.
did you start with wanting to have a series, or was that planned out, or did you just start with the first book and hope for the best? Tell us a bit about that.
No, we started out. So the day Anaya was born is when I got the inspiration. I finally realized that, okay, I know how to write a children's book. I know what to base it off of. It was just all this love and this genuineness of saying like, hey, I'm a dad for the first time. I don't want to mess this up. So that night I had wrote a 10-book children's series, but I made a plan for 5. I knew that I wanted her to, kind of go through this with me, ages 1 through 5. So there was always a plan. If you look back at some of my old footage, I had already had the covers to these books when she was like 2 years old. So we had already had the books written, but we were just releasing 1 book a year. We were trying to get her character to grow with her. Now it is her on the cover, on each book cover. This is Anaya's Trip to Atlantis. So this is what she looks like now, and this
Right.
book here just came out a couple of weeks ago. So we're still doing good with this one. This, everything was premeditated. Everything that I do is absolutely premeditated.
Planned.
Yeah,
So you
plan,
don't you
plan.
don't do things you don't do things by accident. It's by
Right,
design,
right.
and I would like to say that I believe people succeed by design.
Yes.
It doesn't happen by accident that people succeed. You've got to want to succeed, and follow some sort of a plan that will eventually get you to kind of success that you want. What has it been like? I like to ask our guests on the show, what has it been like to market your work during the pandemic? Because things have been so radically different. You can't go to book signings, you can't hold in-person events. What has that meant for Anaya's Trip to Atlantis? What have you
So
done differently?
So this is so funny because when the pandemic hit, this was a great opportunity for me because I came from marketing all of my books through the internet. So I wasn't worried about the grassroots getting out to people. I said, okay, I'm gonna go back to what I remember. I came from a place where I used to market to people on MySpace. And what I love the most is Google Translate. I could tell someone that I can speak Japanese or whatever Russian and with using Google Translator, and I would contact people and start a conversation, and they would think that, hey, this guy knows my language, and then slowly but surely I would end up selling my book to them. So that's been
Wow.
the biggest highlight for me. I've always done that. I've done it since 2007. I will never stop. This is why I am a bestseller. My books sell every day, every week, every month, every year for ever since 2007. 2007.
So you've really sort of owned the online space and used it. But tell us a little bit, apart from sort of the languages, what have you used? How have you used online to sell the books? Because a lot of people are online, but it doesn't mean that they're selling books. So what
Right.
exactly is it that you do to make the sale?
Okay. So what I do is years ago, I started my own newsletter. It's always best to collect people's emails. So I'll email people, set up my storyline. People know who I am. They keep up with me throughout the years. And I slowly just inform people about what I have going on. And sometimes we use a email marketing company. This is probably the best way for people to do this. Use an email marketing company to help build up your portfolio of who you are. Or you can even hire a publicist. A publicist is a great way to get your name out there, your face out there, your brand out there. You have to have people to help you market who you are. People want to know about your books. They want to know about you, which is part of the reason why I started the podcast. My podcast was to let people know how to go about marketing their book. You have to learn how to sell yourself. You have to make yourself interesting.
I like that you started a podcast. Because a lot of people tend to get this wrong. They spend however long it's taken them to write the book, then they wait for the book to get published, and now they want to jump onto social media and they expect the book to sell.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. You
Nope,
have
not at
got to have, by the time your book is published, you already have to have a relationship with your audience.
all.
So that whatever it is that you're offering to sell, it's not going to matter because that you already have the relationship.
Right. And that's very important. And I'm glad you touched on the social media aspect. You have to get out there to the people as much as possible. This is the time that we're in with social media. So make yourself, brand yourself. I call it brand correctness. Instead of being PC, I call it BC. Be brand correct. Stay on brand about who you are and what you're trying to do. Have a conversation with people. Pop on lives here and there. Give out your personal info, well, your business information, so people can reach out to you. And trust me, you'll develop a great relationship with people who saw you from the beginning and the rise of your success.
That's a very interesting and important point that you just made there about branding yourself online. Because I often see people make this mistake and they think that they can have a dual personality online. You know, they say, well, this is me and that's my business. But in the world that we live in now, it doesn't work that way.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
you are your brand.
Yeah,
There's no one me this and one me that. So whatever you do online, you know, you need to be cognizant of the fact that people are going to see you as one being. Not they're not going to make the separation between you and the business that you represent. So you're always branding yourself. There's no off time.
right, right. Always. You because that's what people see, and you're right. Whatever you put out there, that's what you're going to be associated with. I remember when YouTube was, just getting started, and I realized, I said, a lot of people are doing a lot of goofy things, and I don't think they realize that that digital footprint is going to be out there for a while, and whatever people gravitate towards you is what they stick you with.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you didn't just stop there with those marketing efforts and selling, hard copies of your book. You've also stepped into the space of animation.
Yes.
How's that going? How's that going? And
So,
why did you step into animation? What was it that piqued your interest?
well, so the biggest thing about animation, especially with this series, was still to this day, there are not enough children's stories that talk about African American children's stories, if you will.
Hmm.
There's a lot of stories out there, a lot of characters, but it's not a story about a father who's actually doing what I'm doing in his real life, trying to pursue happiness in a sense. But in that pursuit of trying to get to happiness, you kind of neglect your family at times, So we knew that we wanted to do an animation, but it's so difficult to get the animation rolling because it's so many people that have to be a part of it.
And I think that's an aspect that we also sometimes forget is that we're not alone in this world. We need to work on having a network of people that can help us, and there's nothing wrong in asking for help.
Yeah.
It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. And the interesting thing I've always found is that when you step up to someone and say I need help, very few people will say no. Almost never. People love it when you come up to them and say, hey, I'd like to get this book out, could you help me?
Yeah.
People are not going to say no if you just take the first step forward and actually help them. So, when do you think that the animation will see the light of day?
Well, so here's what happened. We had a huge Netflix and Hulu deal on the table. And this is why I
Hmm.
always talk about being transparent when you're doing business. The production company that we signed a non exclusive deal with in order to make the Netflix and the Hulu deal happen, they weren't being transparent with us. They ended up going out of business, right? So when you partner with somebody and they go out of business, now you're left on your own because that production company, they have all the contacts and the resources. And unfortunately, me just being an author, I'm not privy to have those contacts, which is why a lot of people get with entertainment lawyers. Because if a production company did like what they did to me, I would say to my entertainment lawyer, which I didn't have at the time, hey, can we still talk to Netflix and Hulu and try to work this deal out between us? But that Hollywood scene, it's so different from just publishing. It's a whole different ball game because there's so much money attached that those companies, they want to purchase the rights from you and just move you out of the way. And that's not what I was all about. I really wanted to make sure that the story sticks to the point, and the character looks like the character. So I think for us, we're still working on it. I'm connecting with some more people now. Some people such as Floyd Mayweather. I'm trying to see if he'll be interested in being an executive producer of the brand and see what we can do from there. So it's the wheels are still turning. The storyboard is out there, the storyline is out there, but I just trying to sell it to the right person.
So just to repeat what you said now, if you had to do this over again from the start,
Yeah.
what are the things that you'd have in place first?
So the first thing I would have in place is the story, like your story, the storyboard, the plot, the whole line of it, right? Mainly the storyboard, and also having an entertainment lawyer. Entertainment lawyers are well connected and they know how to guide you into that industry. And what the film industry notices about a person that has an entertainment lawyer is that you're of great representation, you're legal. This lawyer, vetted you properly. So I would do that. I tried to skip a step to skip over the lawyer and go directly to a production company. But I see now if a company goes out of business, I'll still have my lawyer.
That is a good learning. Sometimes we think we'll take shortcuts. I read something the other day which I thought was actually quite profound. A guy said, he's a photographer, and when the client said to him, well, how much do you charge? And he says, well, I charge 10,000. And the client said, goodness, that's a lot of money, and he said, well, how much do you think you should be paying? And he says, well, 150. And the photographer says to him, well, for 150, I'll teach you how to take your own photographs. And the person says, fantastic. And he says, but before we get started, you will need to invest in a DSLR camera, which costs X amount. You'll have to invest in a lens, which costs X amount. You'll need a tripod. You'll need this, that, and the other. And the person quickly realized, whoa, this is like 3 times the 10,000 he was talking about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly right. You have to. The biggest thing I like to tell people is the way to invest in yourself is about your ideas. Not so much into like investing into the market, but investing into yourself. Buying the right, equipment if you can. Take your time and research it. There are plenty of free videos and free advice of people telling you how to do it the right way so you can be successful.
So start with good. Research is everything. Do your homework. Darshaun, I want to move on to actually the sort of writing process. How do you write a compelling story? Because we all speak English or whichever language we write, and we all know how to write. But writing a compelling storyline and being able to get your work out to print is not as easy. So
Right.
do you have any tips or suggestions that you're willing
Oh,
to share?
oh, absolutely. Listen, it doesn't matter what genre it is. The best way to tell a story is from your own personal experience. And when I say experience, I'm talking about dealing with your own imagination. You have to stay inside of your mind when it comes to writing. When I first started writing poetry, I spoke about my heart being broken, and that came from a true place. So when you read it on paper, you go, I understand where this young man is coming from. So fast forward years later, I go, well, listen, I want to tap back into my childhood. I want to find out what it is to play again. And now I have a little person I can play with, and I can show her how to do certain things. So I tapped into that. So with our children's book series, they're just fun. So I tapped into my fun side. I'm like, again, I'm just happy to be a dad. I'm happy somebody wants to play with me, and go to the park with me all the time. So, in order to write a compelling story, I would say you have to stay inside of your imagination. That's where the best books come out of, your imagination.
That is amazing. And I like that you talk about tapping into your real life experiences, because they're relatable. It's unlike stuff that you make up. It doesn't convey the same sense of authenticity. as when you're talking from your heart, because when you're talking from your heart, you become relatable to other people. And very often we think no one else can understand my story. Um, but surprise, surprise, when you actually muster up the courage to share a real life story, you will find that there are so many people that will reach out to you and say, yes, this is me. This was written just for me. This was written just for my child,
Right. Right.
because it's so relatable. So I like that particular tip that you shared. Thank you for sharing that. And so once your book is actually, I'm going to put you on full screen for a second because
Okay.
I want people to see those books. They are gorgeous books. So to what extent were you sort of involved in designing the covers?
Okay, so I'm involved in every aspect of these books. What we were doing was the first book, Anaya didn't have any say so. It was just my wife, and we were just trying to figure out, okay, how do we make this give it a commercial appeal? And then
Right,
the second book, we decided to say, okay, well, let's show Anaya how to do this and kind of work with the software with her. And she's
right.
real familiar with it. So I started letting Anaya basically pick the font and the color of the font and what's going to happen, with the pictures. So I'm involved in every aspect of these. My whole entire family, well, the ladies in the family have the final say so. A lot of the covers that I like didn't go through. So these are the ones that they picked.
I really like that you actually asked Anaya because the thing is, she's a child.
Yeah.
She knows what she likes, and chances are that other children are going to like what she likes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been working well for us. It's been working well. She designs the shoes, the socks, the umbrellas. I show her how to work all the software, and I have her pick the best image that she wants to see out there. So everything that I do, I just have the plan for, but I kind of let her approve everything after that.
But aren't you teaching your daughter great business skills at the same time?
Yes, yes. Great business skills and also how to be a competent communicator. That's the biggest thing that I want her to be able to do is to be able to say what you're going to say, be confident about what you're going to say, and be responsible about what you're going to say. So yeah, she's becoming a great business person.
That is amazing. I can see a young author in the development there and look forward to her writing her own stories once she gets around to that. And with the right encouragement, I'm sure she'll get there pretty quickly. So I think you teaching your daughter to grow up with great skills, and that is fantastic. What's next for Darshaun McAway?
Well, what's next for me is I'm going to put a lot more marketing dollars into my fragrance line. I have Balance Cologne. I've had this out since
Let me put you on full
2018.
screen. Let me put you on full
Sure.
screen for that.
So
There
this
we
is
go.
Balance Cologne. Um, this is it's been out since 2018. So we're gonna pump a lot of money into that, and we're just and Anaya is going to do a museum. Is it a museum event where she's going to display her paintings, and she took her paintings and turned them into a watch. So we're gonna
Oh,
do that for her.
wow. Oh my
We're
gosh,
gonna
that's
yeah,
amazing.
we're going to do that for her, and we're trying to have an event where we talk to parents about honing in on your children's talents and how to possibly make revenue from that. But it's not really about that. It's about trying to find out who they are, tap into who they are, so you could find out, okay, this is what they're interested in. Let's keep her in that, and let's keep her focused. And if we can hire someone to help her more than what we know, let's stay right there and do that. So, that's, I guess, I'm more for me is more parenting, more hands-on with her, trying to get her figured out, because she's about to be 6 years old, and I can see her personality changing a little bit. So I'm like, okay, let's find out what you're really interested in.
I want to just give a shout out to Lillian Muller, who's watching us. And she's got an amazing son and daughter, Ella and Marlon. And Ella, I think, is 10 years old, and she's live streaming. She's live streaming and
Wow.
doing an absolutely amazing job. She's got the most amazing on-camera personality, and also her little brother. So a big shout out to Lillian. who's doing a great job with her two children.
Good job.
And I can see, I mean, Anaya is watching you doing your podcast, no doubt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's well, and we also have a podcast together. We have a baby
Oh
authors
wow.
podcast. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
we're the
wow.
fam. It's we talk about the books. We talk about family business. We talk about raising her, and how difficult it is. It's difficult to keep your family on the same track. But we try to make her have a lot of fun in this process. The biggest thing that we focus on the podcast is having our daughter get to know us, right? Because we're so, and that's something that a lot of people don't focus on is, hey, how do we get her to get to know us, and so she won't think that we don't want to have fun or we're too boring. We're trying to explain to her like, hey, this is what we go through, and we know you're trying to have fun, but you need to kind of get to know us a little bit too.
And I think, with the podcast, you sort of able to, because you're talking to the world, you're able to step out of that sort of mommy and daddy mode that you generally would be in.
Yeah.
And so she's getting to experience you the way other people would experience you.
Right. Right.
And I think that's great, because children sometimes only see us in the mommy daddy role, and they don't get to experience what we're like with other people. Whereas her being involved in your podcast gives her that opportunity at a very, very young age,
Yeah.
um, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you equipping her with great business skills from a young age. Just because formal education, while it's great, and while I will advocate for formal education, nothing replaces the hands-on education, the skills part, the life skills part, which is what you are teaching her.
Right.
That's very, very important aspect of children. Darshaun, I want to say a huge big thank you to you
Thank you.
for your time, for sharing your learnings with Anaya's adventures.
Thank
And
you so much.
and we wish you well with the series, with the animation. We'd love to. I'm going to put you on full screen for a second again so you can
Okay.
show that up.
Sure deal.
And we wish you well with the animation bit. I would really like for you to come back again once you've got the animation in the bag, to tell us about how that went. That'll be absolutely fabulous. So so congratulations on that again. And Lydian says, well done to you, Darshaun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate you so much. You've been helping me for, I think, what has been 2 years now, maybe three. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. We actually, this July, the Writers Corner live show will have been running for 3 years. And Darshaun, you have been one of the very, very first people that we had on the show. So it has been a 3-year journey with
Yep.
Writers Corner Live. So thank you for always, thank you for your support. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks very much to our listeners out there, and our viewers, and whichever platform you're watching us on. Much appreciated. Thank you for stopping by, and great to have had you join us. And again, um, Lillian, thank you for your kind words. Much appreciated. Take care, everyone. We'll see you back next week on the Writers Corner Live Show.